the Florida Alliance for Retired Americans for hosting this forum. I apologize for not being there in person. Unfortunately, my husband is undergoing heart surgery today at JFK Hospital, and as I am sure you understand, I need to be with him. She stated her position on 2 issues. I'm not going to read any candidate's position on issues who isn't present. I will be glad to personally answer any questions you may have. Her cell phone number is on the literature that she has made available at the entrances. Please feel free to call me. I'd love to hear from you. Kathy Foster, candidate for County Commission. We have 3 of the 4 candidates that are here. They have been provided with a summary of the rules. We have our moderator today is Richard Hatwick. He's a retired professor of economics from Illinois. I will be functioning as the parliamentarian should any dispute over issues or something like that arise, then I would rule on those. So I would like to introduce a member of our board, one of the local clubs, and we have a great local club. Some of them are here today. They do a wonderful job in hosting public forums on issues of Social Security, Medicare, senior issues in general. So, Richard Hatwick, would you please come assume your position as the moderator, and you can go through, if necessary, read the rules that we have given you. If there's any questions, then we will rule on that. I would ask that everyone turn off their cell phones and in the audience and on the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. And welcome all of you, particularly members of our Mid-County Club. I would like to introduce the president of the club who is just finishing her crossword puzzle, Nazareth. President Nazareth, would you stand up and wave at the audience? Let me go through the rules and we'll get going right away. Rule number 1 is between myself, the timekeeper, the parliamentarian, and you candidates, we go on a first-name basis. So I'm Dick, it's Melissa, Michelle, and Andrew, and Debbie, the timekeeper. Second, we do have a timekeeper, Debbie over there. Everybody, she has 2 signs with the numbers on it. Can all of you see that far? If not, we have enough time to just... Yeah, okay, we're all set there. Next, members of the audience, if you have a question, we ask you to write it on a card. We have card-carrying members who are carrying cards to hand out. And just raise your hand, they will hand you a card, and I believe they will have a pen.
Anytime?
Anytime, Maureen asks. The format is as follows. We'll begin. Each of you candidates has 2 minutes to introduce yourself. Say anything you want. Then we have 2 questions that the chapter came up with. Let me tell you ahead of time what they are. The first one is, you have 2 minutes for this. What is the job of a commissioner and what are the responsibilities? The second question, again you have 2 minutes each, is what are the major old and new challenges facing the county board? After that, each of you gets to ask the other 2 a question, and each of the other 2 will respond with 1 minute. The answer has to be restricted to 1 minute. So each of the 3 of you gets to ask a question of the other 2. By that time, we should have the questions from the audience, and we will then ask you those questions. At around 10 minutes after 2, we'll call to an end the questioning, and each of you will have 2 minutes to answer, to give a final statement. The order of the final statement will be determined by a luck of the draw, which consists of numbers on the text sheet here. So Kinley, Melissa, you've got 2 minutes. Debbie, start the clock. Not counting the time to turn on the... Do we have a technician to help you? Something on the side?
Is that...
First 5 minutes will be on the side. Here we come. You want to just,
Are we turned on? There we go.
okay.
Good afternoon. I'd like to start real quick. I know we mentioned about my opponent, Ms. Foster, and there's a misconception that candidates aren't supposed to get along with each other if they're running against each other, but I would ask that everybody say a quick prayer for her and for her family today before they leave. Anyhow, my name is Melissa McKinley. I'm a candidate for County Commission. Of course, you already knew that. A little bit about me, since I only have 2 minutes. I have served this community as a public servant, as a community volunteer, and most importantly, as a parent. I have over 10 years of county government experience that includes capital budgeting, grant writing, and legislative advocacy, both here, Tallahassee, and in Washington. I have served this community as a volunteer in our schools, with serving over 100 hours a year in our elementary schools while my children were at equestrian trails, then on to Emerald Cove, and now I'm spread out between 3 different schools in the county. I have volunteered in Wellington on the Wellington Education Advisory Committee. I'm an 18-year member of the Junior League of the Palm Beaches and the Junior Leagues of Florida. I've been advocating for the smallest of voices in Tallahassee in terms of foster care, human trafficking, literacy, education, and all sorts of issues that affect women, children, and families. I could go, there's a lot of other organizations I volunteered with, but before my 2 minutes is up, let me talk to you about why I got into this race. There are 16, his name is Brady, she's 14, her name is Macy, and my youngest is 13, and her name is Annika. So 3 teenagers that have a big future that they want to have somewhere in this country, and I want it to be here in Palm Beach. I want to make sure that we have jobs and we have safe roads and safe neighborhoods and affordable houses that they can come back here and raise their families in. I want to make sure that as I age and we age, that the services are available for us to age in dignity. I want to make sure that the communities throughout District 6 have equal representation, not just Wellington, not just Royal Palm Beach, but our neighbors to the west and the Glades that have gone unrepresented for a number of years. And most importantly, I just want to make sure that the County Commission doesn't forget the perspective of a family member, of somebody that is raising children in our communities. And I see Debbie flashing her card. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And now, Michelle, are you ready?
Yes. Hi, good morning, or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michelle Santamaria. I grew up in this community since I was 9 months old, when my parents left the crime-ridden city of Philadelphia for a quiet, sleepy town down the way in Royal Palm Beach. I went through school here and have always lived in Palm Beach County, except for going away to school. I attended the University of Florida, where I obtained an undergraduate degree in finance, later a master's degree from Rollins College, and finally a law degree from Stetson Law School, the #1 trial school in the nation. I love trial. I love learning and I love teaching, and as a criminal prosecutor here in Palm Beach County after law school, I worked hard to fight crime. I loved what I did, and I saw the effects that it had on the community. Through that time as a prosecutor, we had a lot of opportunity to work with various people and find out what the underlying issues were in the community. In order to reduce crime, which is so important to your quality of life, you've got to start at the beginning and learn about why crime happens. After being a prosecutor for several years, I started my own small business right here in Palm Beach County. I was teaching law enforcement witnesses how to testify in court based on what I learned and saw on the witness stand. It started right here, spread throughout Florida, eventually the entire United States, and finally the Federal Bureau of Investigation picked up the course within 2 years of starting the company. Since that time, I've learned a lot about what it takes to deal with the issues in society. When I got into this race, I started to think about what was most important. It all comes down to 2 main issues. There are a lot of issues in the county. We can all agree on that. But everything stems from 2 simple issues. Two. This is the cliffhanger, which will be added on to later. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And now for you, Andrew.
Thank you for being here, and thank you to our hosts. We don't get enough opportunity to interact with the people, so thank you. My name is Andy Schaller. I came to Florida 31 years ago, and I'd like to use my time to answer a future question, which is, what is the job of the County Commission? I'd like to take one aspect of that and give my introduction. The first aspect of the County Commission is fiscal policy. We collect your taxes, we distribute them as a commission. Hopefully one day I'll be part of that. My background is in banking, electronic banking, finance, and marketing. I came to Palm Beach County in 1987 and became a stockbroker and a financial consultant. I handled all the fixed income investing for Broward and Palm Beach counties for the third largest thrift in the U.S. at the time, called First Nationwide. It was owned by Ford. In 1994, I started my own company, which is called Palm Beach Financial Exchange. I'm the sole owner. I've never accepted outside funding in any way. I've never had a loan from the company. In the last 20 years, I've handled the business for 550 businesses, over 550 businesses across the U.S. and Puerto Rico. I have never raised my rates one time in 20 years, and I haven't advertised for business in 17 years. I've handled over $1 billion of everybody else's money, $40 at a time, with my own personal responsibility backing up that money. So part of the job of the County Commission is to responsibly handle your funds and responsibly make sure that whatever is collected is really needed, and then the appropriation of those funds are important. What I ask you to do here as you sit here today is be your own HR department. You are going to hire your next representative to represent you at the county where your money counts. So as you listen to us today, please think to yourself, who do you want to go into battle to represent your children, your grandchildren's best interest when it comes to your money? That's one of the two jobs of the County Commission.
Thank you. Now, you get to come back to that. Now we're going to start with Michelle on the first question, which is, what are the responsibilities of a commission? Let's start with Michelle. Oh, I'm going to mix the order up each time. This is 2 minutes each also, Debbie.
Can you say verbally 30 seconds? Okay. I'll try to keep my eye on you then. I'll stand over here. What is the job of a county commissioner?
Correct.
There's only one job. Listen to the people, and, well, two parts, and follow what the people want. The reason why I come down here to you right now is because if you ever notice in the county commission building, you got these elected officials and they're raised up, way up above the people. But if you look at the chart, the organizational chart of the county commission in really fine print, you got the entire Board of County Commissioners and their staff, and in teeny tiny print at the top, which nobody ever seems to notice, it actually says that it's the people. The people who decide you're the big bosses, but for some reason that fails to be listened to. Our number one job, every elected official, no matter who it's going to be, we always need to remember that you're in charge, you make the rules, we need to listen to what you want. Not only listen, but follow through. Because the history of the county shows you get people who care, like you all are here today, show up to the meeting, say no new development, no over density, and then the vote comes, and then the county commission decides the exact opposite. When everybody in the audience, all the people, the bosses, said no development. Thank you. Listening to the people and following what the people want.
Now, Melissa, same question.
The job of the county commissioner obviously is to listen, it's obviously to manage the budget, but it's also to make sure that when you go to bed at night and you put your head on that pillow that you are in a safe place, that if you wanted to call 911, I see Drew out there, that fire rescue will show up or law enforcement will show up if you need them. So it's to make sure that your communities are safe, your homes are safe, that when it rains, the water has somewhere to go so that you're not flooding. It's to make sure that the roads are safe and quality so that when you're driving at night or during the day, that if there's an accident, at least you're safe. It's also to make sure that, every person in the county has a voice, from the wealthiest to the poorest. So, to make sure that the services are in place, that we're listening to you, that we're constantly meeting with the public, that we're working with all of the other elected officials in an amicable manner, that we're working with the school district, I see Marsha out there, that we're working with our members of the delegation, that we're working with our members of Congress to maximize our tax dollars here, to make sure that we're bringing every service that we possibly can that the residents and the visitors of this county need. That's the job of the county commissioner.
Thank you. Now each of you have 2 minutes to answer the question, what are the current and future problems? Oh, I'm sorry then. Yeah, there you go. Go ahead, Andrew.
Thank you, sir. The second job of the county commissioner, in my opinion, is to set the civic governing responsibilities. And yes, of course, that does take in what people are saying. But a lot of times, as we know, people don't necessarily know what to say, how to say, or who to say it to. An example, many people don't realize the county commission has limited jurisdiction over your municipality. First line of knowing how to help somebody is know where to send them for help. You have to go to the village of Wellington for most of your issues. The county then can be gone to for other issues that are outside the purview of the municipality. That's number one. Number two, you have to know how to apply the system in order to get the result that you want to have to be able to help somebody. Listening alone doesn't help. Listening and applying and listening and achieving the objective is what's going to show whether you're a quality and good governing individual or not. In the last 6 years, I have spent more time in the county chambers on any given 1 month than my entire candidate opponents have in their entire 6 years. I've been through all the county meetings for planning, zoning. I've been through the Army Corps of Engineers, Indian Trails Improvement District, the GTAC, you name it, I've been to it. If I haven't been to it, I've watched it on TV. There's only one way to understand what is going to be in the best interest of the community, and that's to be in the community while these things are happening. You can't sit on the sidelines or walk in the very first day and expect to know what's going on, because when you are instilled as the commissioner, your choice for hire, as soon as that is over, you then have the rest of the meeting where you're going to be deciding the issues that may have been going on for days, months, weeks, or years prior to that. You have to know how to use the system from the first vote you cast, which is moments after you're sworn in.
Thank you. Hold on to that microphone. Next question, of course, which I've given you once already, but here it is again. What are the current and future problems, the most important problems that the county commission will face?
Okay, the county commission as a whole has to vote on all 7 issues. All issues go in front of all 7 county commissioners. The commission is divided into 7. The way it works is any 4 votes for or any 4 votes against will either have it go forward or stop the issue. Number 1 is making sure you have an idea of what you're voting on. You have to be out there and you have to pay attention, you have to listen. Number 2, the big one, is you have to have a consensus of at least 3 other commissioners. Otherwise, you can be the Lone Ranger, you can ring the bell, you can do whatever you like, but if you're standing out there alone, you're ineffective. You need to be effective. You have to build a coalition of understanding and respect with your fellow commissioners in order to have anything accomplished. Otherwise, the road to failure is paved with good intentions. You have to be effective. I believe we need district representation. We have not had a Glades office, which is the western office, open in 5 years. There's been no representation for the western area. So when we talk about, as voters, we feel disenfranchised by our government, it's real easy to figure out why. If your office is out there and it's not staffed regularly and it's not open for 5 years, how can anybody feel well represented? Starting from scratch, if you want to listen to the people, open the office that is deemed the Western County's office and start from there.
Michelle, same question.
Okay. So the question was, what has been and what will be the biggest problem in Palm Beach County?
That is correct.
Well, what has been and what will be are one and the same. It's growth and development in Palm Beach County that affects each and every single one of us. How do we address this? You know, it's fantastic. Andy brought up a great point. The county commissioner has to be able to get the other commissioners or persuade them and educate them, because we all know it takes 4 out of 7 commissioners to pass something, right? Well, I love those odds. If we've got one vote and you only need 3 out of 6, to me that's unbelievable, because as a criminal prosecutor fighting crime in Palm Beach County, I had to persuade 6 out of 6 jurors to get a guilty conviction. I had to have a unanimous, so half of that, 3 out of 6, sounds fantastic to me. One of the things that we need to do is, with growth and development in Palm Beach County, it's history. It keeps repeating itself. And you've got to watch development. Development will always occur. It's a fact of life, and it should happen. But it's got to be intelligent, compatible, and responsible growth. Here's the problem. When we have these developers, they keep coming back and back. It wears down the community. You can see Alan in the back from the acreage. Every single time that these things come up to a vote, you have the citizens who are so gung-ho, who are so excited, and they're fighting for their rights. And yes, maybe the county commission agrees with them one time, but pass forward another year, 2 years, those developers come back and back again. It's just like witness in the criminal justice system. You keep abusing them, keep making them come back, and eventually they'll go away. We've got to change that. It's happened throughout all of Palm Beach County. Here's the issue. If you give up the land and the property rights and you add that density more than was allowed, you never get it back. You can't change that decision.
Time's up. Thank you, Michelle. And Melissa, you're the last one with the question for the current and future issues.
Okay. No doubt representation in the Glades is an issue that's already been addressed. No doubt growth management is a huge issue. That one has been addressed already by my opponents. Continuing the great work that Commissioner Santa Maria has done with the Ethics Commission and the Inspector General is a fabulous thing that has been done that will continue to be worked on. But I want to address one issue because I like numbers. I worked for a congressman that was a statistics professor, and he always told me to tell my story in numbers. The economic indicators tell us that about 765 people will be moving to Florida every day for the next 5 years. The problem with those numbers is the population, the age of the population that's moving to Florida are our retirees, and then the other part that will grow is our children. So that's going to leave a void in the number of people that are actually working and are those tax, sales tax revenue generators that help us fund the programs that we have. So we've got to create jobs that will attract the younger workers to come down here to be able to support the number of retirees that are moving to our state in astronomical numbers. The other problem with that growing population of retirees is affordable housing. And the Palm Beach posted a fantastic report a couple of weeks ago about the issue of homeless seniors. And that we are seeing at some point, I think it's nationally, but a large part of that will be in Florida. Somewhere they're estimating 95,000 seniors at some point. And Joe, if I'm not correct on that number, you can edit it for me. But I thought I remember reading 95,000 homeless seniors. And that is just not acceptable. So we need to address the housing crisis that not only our state is facing, but that we're going to face here locally.
Thank you, Melissa. Now we get to the fun part. Each of the candidates may ask the other two a question, and each of the other two have 1 minute to answer. And since Melissa has Michelle, has the microphone, we'll let you ask the first question of your two compatriots.
Okay, for Melissa and Andy, really quickly. The other issue that has been in the history of Palm Beach County and continues to grow, aside from growth and development, that I want to address with you too, is honesty in government and supporting the Inspector General. I think that one of the ways we can do this is keep the sunshine open in Florida and be completely transparent. There's only one commissioner in Palm Beach County so far to this point who has mentioned about 70% of our time, if any one of us is elected to be the commissioner, will be spent with private meetings with special interests, the developers, etc. And this commissioner is the only one to date who records each and every single one of those meetings to keep the sunshine in. So I had an idea to build upon what's already been done for our community. I want to see if you both would agree to joining me, whoever wins, to join me in this idea, to add on, instead of just making these meetings with special interest groups recorded, because only one person does it now, is to, one, notify the public when they're going to happen through the internet, post it. There's going to be a special meeting with developer XYZ on this date. Anybody is welcome to attend. In addition to announcing it and letting anybody attend, having it on videotape or on the internet so that if you couldn't attend, let's say you're active in your community, but maybe you're 110 years old and you can't drive there, but you'd still like to be a part of it, then perhaps you can get it on the internet through live streaming so that it's completely transparent, completely open, no hidden deals, and that the entire public, our bosses, would be able to access that. So would you agree, if you're elected, whoever is elected, to joining me in this idea that I had to let the signs shine and be totally transparent, and all those special interest meetings, have them announced to the public, anybody can attend, and if you physically can't make it, to have it on the internet available.
Mr. Melissa?
You know, I spent time working for Senator Bill Nelson before I joined the county, and the senator has a practice that he posts his daily calendar online every day so that everybody knows who he's meeting with, where he's with, and who he's spent time with. And so I would absolutely continue that practice that I learned from Senator Nelson in making sure that his schedule was transparent. If the technology were available, I would support being able to video those conferences. I'm not sure, you know, how the county building would work in that. I'm not sure, though, that every meeting should be that way, because a lot of what an elected official does is constituent casework. And I've been in that role, and you're talking to women that are homeless, trying to find a place for their family. They're struggling trying to get their health insurance coverage with the healthcare district or Medicaid. I mean, these are personal, private things that sometimes are covered under HIPAA laws and require releases and all sorts of consents. And I don't know that every meeting would be appropriate to be that way, but for the ones that are, I would support that.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Thank you. In 2010, when I ran for this office as a no-party-affiliated contestant candidate, I opened up Facebook. I don't like Facebook because it puts everything out there to the world except for one purpose. Anything that I put up on my Facebook is I want the world to know. And since that time, with the 800 some odd people thereabouts that have participated in my Facebook, I've not refused a single request that came in. And you will see there's Democrats, there's independents, there's Republicans, and I never, except for one rude comment, never censored anything anybody's put up. I have an open door as my own office. That's why I get the referral business. And I believe that the videotaping is a fantastic idea because a lot can be said and shush with something slidden. So let's make it all out in the sunshine. I respect what Melissa said. My mother worked for 34 years in a social worker's office. Some things are privileged, personal to person. Beyond that, put it all out there as often as we can and replay the important things that affect communities. Open that door.
Would you check that to Melissa, please? Now, Melissa, you get to ask a question. You want Andrew to go first while you come up with
No, that's okay. I was under the impression originally we were just asking one opponent a question, but I'll change it up a little bit. My question to both of you would be, over the past 10 years, what specific, aside from family charities, what specific charities, projects, and programs have you worked on and brought back to this district?
Over the last 10 years, so that would begin my career as a criminal prosecutor, while I was there, one of my favorite divisions to work in was, sorry, let me stand up so you can see, was the domestic violence unit, which is really critical because a lot of crime stems from bad family homes. So as a criminal prosecutor, I thought it was important not just to do my job as a prosecutor, but to meet the people and the children that I worked with. So I volunteered my time with a group called Safety Net. It's for victims of domestic violence and their children. 30 seconds left. Okay. In addition to that, I also, after I was a criminal prosecutor in Palm Beach County, I later went back and volunteered my time. What does that mean? That means I fought crime completely for free for Palm Beach County.
My mother worked for Catholic Charities, as I mentioned, for 34 years. We learned that you don't advertise your charity. You do things from the heart for the right reason. In 2006, when one of the campaign candidates was running, something was said to them that I've stuck with ever since that period of time. It was, so-and-so's generosity is exceeded only by his expectations from his generosity. And I would never have that go out. What I do is my business, and the people that I have affected know it's their business as well. I can give you many, many stories, but I won't out anybody. I take personal things to heart. I don't put it out there. I've been to the cancer balls. I've been to the heart balls. I've been to all the things everybody else has supported, written the checks. But when it gets down to personal involvement, I do it on a case-by-case basis. I keep my mouth shut because that's how I was taught. Real charity is done. It's not advertising yourself to better yourself. It's to help.
Everybody, I've lost track here of reading questions. Everybody had a chance to ask a question? You have not.
Not yet.
All right, here's his chance.
The county commission wears many hats. At some point you are the county commission, at some point you are the solid waste authority, at some point you're planning and zoning, and you have to be in what's called quasi-judicial, which means you act as a pseudo-court, where you can interrogate, so to speak, examine, cross-examine, listen to witnesses, listen to documentation. And it's not court because you're a lay person, but it is the closest thing we have to governmental court. My question for my opponents, with all the different hats that you need to wear, has either one of you ever brought forth from concept to completion any topic, any idea, anything that achieved a realistic result on any level that the county commission is responsible for, directly by yourself?
Thank you so much. Absolutely. About 6.5 years ago, I saw a need in this community. Working, fighting crime as a criminal prosecutor, I noticed that certain witnesses were having issues on the stand. And we were losing cases, and criminals were getting away with things and re-victimizing people in our community as a result. So on my own, I created a curriculum based on what I saw. Instead of hiding the ball, teaching witnesses what to expect in court from all sides: prosecution, defense, judge, jury. You know, we teach them how to shoot a gun, how to write a report, and how to collect evidence. But if we can't teach them how to articulate themselves, those criminals are back on the streets. I started that company 6.5 years ago. As I mentioned to you, it went national, and the FBI took it from there, training their cellular analysis survey team, the top FBI agents in the country, and it absolutely affects not only Palm Beach County, but national crime rates as well.
And listen.
I don't believe in there's an I in team. The last time I looked how to spell it, there was no I there. So I prefer to work as a team. One of the projects I am most proud of is actually sitting right here in Wellington. Shortly after somebody from the opposite side of the aisle, who I enjoyed working with, shortly after Senator Lisbeth Benaquisto was elected, probably the day after, she called me and said, we need a rape treatment center in Palm Beach County. We don't have one. So she said, put the team together. So I put the team together with her, with advocates, with the deputies, with the state attorney's office, with the hospitals, and we opened up the rape treatment center known as the Butterfly House at Wellington Regional in less than 1 year, with $1.7 million from the federal government, about $500,000 from the state of Florida. The county donated the victim services advocates. The hospital donated the space. Dr. Soria donated his services through trained nurses known as SANE nurses. And that facility has increased the number of victims who've reported assaults and who've gone in for a forensic exam. That's how I like to work as a team.
Now time for the questions. If anybody still has a question that you have not submitted, our team is out there. Maureen, raise your hand so they know where you are. And here's a question right here. And while you're writing that down, let's go to the first one that was turned in. Here it is. Each of you has a minute to answer this. As a member of the BCC Solid Waste Authority Board, what is your stance on the proposal to bring in waste from areas outside of the county to burn in the new county waste to energy facility? Andrew?
If you go to my website, www.andrewschaller.com, you'll see 2 videos where I've already appeared in front of the County Commission acting as the Solid Waste Authority against this. They want to bring in pills Then we have a problem with pill mill. They want to bring in pills as debris to burn in the new incinerator from as far away as Oregon, going through Louisiana, Georgia, whatever. The company that wants to burn these pills, which have what for burn value, what can you get from burning a pill? They want to dump millions of pills onto our area, the Solid Waste Authority, every single week. And they want a truck round trip from Savannah, Georgia back and forth because it's advantageous. And on their website, the number one reason they say they're the best choice for their customers is because of the high cost of transportation. But it's worth driving from Savannah, Georgia to bring in pills from Oregon to us here in the solid waste for a burn value of what? I spoke out twice when none of my opponents and a lot of other people weren't there to speak again. We got one more shot coming up in September. Let's see everybody out there saying, we're trying to clear up, we're trying to clean up, and we don't need a stockpile of pharmaceutical drugs sitting out there to burn.
Can I say another question for Sean?
The number one priority in Palm Beach County and everywhere is the health, safety, and well-being of each and every single one of us. That being said, anything that would compromise your health, which you can't get that back, we've got to protect the fundamentals. Anything that would endanger your health and safety, I would not be for.
Thank you, and George, that's the final response.
I'm opposed to it, and I also think that it's shameful that what they offer to do is allow people to ship it in for a lower rate than what our taxpayers pay for. So no, I would not support that.
And Melissa, since you are right there, the next question, which is for each of you, but I'm going to give her a little extra time to help all of us understand the question. How do each of you respond to the issue Agenda 21? Would you like to tell us what that is before we go through? Do any of you know what it is? Let's start with Andy.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the 750 plan and all of the other ones.
Andrew, tell us what it is, then we'll come back.
Agenda 21 is a concept that was started by the United Nations. The idea behind it is that everywhere you go as part of the United Nations, everybody is basically the same. You don't have a higher carbon footprint, which means transportation, houses, bigger vehicles, the American lifestyle. It is to concentrate under a term called new urbanism, where you stack them and you pack them. In other words, we put everybody in a high-rise and we take away the individual houses. We cut down zero lot lines from properties. The other side of that is we want to make sure everybody has public transportation, where we don't have our own cars, our own individuality. Along with that, a faction of that is Common Core, where everybody is going to be taught the exact same way, regardless of anything that gave you an individuality of a culture from the United States differing to anything across the border. It's removing your language, your cultures, and your border to become nothing more than a cookie cutter of the United Nations.
Okay, I think we get the idea. Debbie, start the clock here. You want to go ahead and answer the question, give a 1 minute answer, which seems pretty obvious, but go ahead and...
I didn't hear the question.
Would you go ahead and give your answer, and then the ladies will.
But I'm not sure the question, sir.
What is your position on Agenda 21?
I don't like it.
I knew it. We're going to save some time on this one, I think. Michelle, what is your answer? What's your position?
No, I don't agree with it either. Agenda 21 started in Rio de Janeiro and locally, but Agenda 21 is what was worldwide, and many countries got behind it. Locally, what does it mean to us? It transferred into the 750 plan. I don't agree with it. It takes away the power of the government locally and transfers it. And obviously, we need to maintain the power here to do what's right for our citizens.
Yeah, I'm having flashbacks now to phone calls in Senator Nelson's office on that issue. I got a little confused there. I don't subscribe to a lot of the Tea Party scares, but with that said, I think that regional planning is, in terms of South Florida, is a good idea, but it should be a plan. It should not be anything that binds us to the decisions that are made down in Miami. It should be something that we can look at and we could consider, and if we can tweak it and make something work for our county, then we should look at it, but nothing should bind our elected officials from having to implement something that's decided on by another jurisdiction.
Thank you. Am I right that this is a little more feedback on this one than on this one? No difference? Okay, well, I need a hearing test. Michelle, you're going to go first here. And the question is, 1 minute response, Debbie. How does a commissioner build consensus within the rules of the Sunshine Law?
How does a commissioner build consensus within the rules of the Sunshine Law? Well, everything should be within the Sunshine Law. It makes sense. This is why I came up with that plan to have those special interest meetings all open to the public and live streaming. The key to getting a consensus is truly to educate people, whether it is the public or whether it's the commissioners. We all need to have the same amount of information, be on the same page. This is exactly what I did as a criminal prosecutor. Our job was to take the facts and the information that we had and to educate the jury as to what they were and to what the final outcome would be. It's the same thing that should and would occur. Open information, just like in a court of law, you can't have any sidebars with the judge without the opposing side. Everything should always be in the open. If everybody has full information, we always update it, because maybe somebody has a different idea, we'll always make the best decisions.
I'll give that to Andrew, if you would, please.
You have to start with respect for your fellow commissioners. You can't start with name calling. You can't send nasty grams as reported by the Palm Beach Post of sending it outside the county mail system to somebody's home. You can't walk over inter-office memos and hand it to somebody saying that you disagree with them in a disrespectful way. Again, maybe you finance their opponent. Who knows? But at the end of the day, the only way you build consensus is respect. Number one, you know exactly what you're talking about, so nobody can ever challenge your facts. They can challenge your opinion, but not the facts. Make sure everybody deals from the position of fact. Number two, you have to remember that if one of your constituents disagrees with you on one particular topic, you may be upset about that, and it's your right to, we're all human, but then on the very next topic, you have to lay that to rest and understand that every case, every issue, everything before the county commission is an individual item. And the way you build consensus is you don't hold grudges and you don't throw stones.
I'm not sure I can add anything more eloquent than what Andy just said. I agree with him 100%. I've also spent the last 18 years educating women on how to be active, effective advocates, and so I would reach out to my constituents and encourage them to make sure that I'm not the only one speaking on issues that are important to the district, but they're also up there speaking on issues that are important to them. But I prefer not to wear orange. Not only because I'm a Seminole, but because, orange is not the new black in my household. Everything will have to be done in the sunshine. That's the law.
Thank you. Keep that applause going. That's energizing. You think you want to start next? Okay, no, go ahead. Yeah. You were short, so you get to do this. Is there anything the commission can do regarding better infrastructure in the western communities? I'll let you know ahead of time, here's a heads up, that we have 3 or 4 questions on the Minto West development. And that'll be a separate question.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk about the far western communities then. I've actually had the privilege of working for the county for the last 4.5 years in the Legislative Affairs Office, and have had the ability to work with an amazing team. And I say team, it's not just me, it's our team. And we have been up in Tallahassee attending committee meetings, meeting with legislators, knocking on the door, raising our voices to make sure that we have funding that's coming back here to our district to improve the infrastructure in our district. That includes $1 million last year that went to the roads in Belle Glade. That's $1 million that went to the Glades this year. Will be split among all 3 cities to improve their roads. That's $1 million that went to the Glades to help start replacing the water pipes that are corroded out there that can't deliver the water effectively. That's nearly $500,000 that went to West Tech for workforce development. That's almost $6 million that went for Palm Beach State College Loxahatchee campus. Workforce training, roads, water, and it's partnering with the legislature and with our members of Congress to bring back those dollars.
Just pass it on to Michelle.
How can we help the infrastructure in Palm Beach County? There's a simple way that we can pay for a lot of roads. Right now, the Palm Beach County Commission has given to the rich and taken from the poor. What do I mean by this? $69 million in impact fees was given away. Those were fees that developers should have paid. But instead, the poor developers who make no money whatsoever, we let them have their $69 million. Well, we need those for the impact fees. This past week, I went to a Minto West meeting, and they were talking about the higher density that Minto West wanted. The developer was there, and they estimated it was about $80 million is what it would cost for all the roads, improvements, etc. $80 million, and the developer wasn't going to pay for all of that, but they said, no way. But instead, we just gave away $69 million in impact fees. Why do we continue to take from the poor, the people, and give to the rich? It should be the other way around.
And you're right there to hand it to, I believe, Andrew.
Just to back up a question or two real quick. Economic sustainability. Has anybody heard that in the Palm Beach County now? You realize it used to be called economic development. Agenda 21 term is sustainability. Don't develop and prosper. Just stay where you are. As far as the Glades and the infrastructure, there's more than just the water, there's more than just the electricity, and there's more than just some of the things we think of. Let's go back to governmental representation. We need to be able to have the exact same level of services for people in the municipalities of the Glades that we have here. Do you know that when the jail shut down there, one of the proposals for use of the jail was for the county clerk and controller's office to use the jail cells for storage. But there was no money to remove the toilets in the jail cells, and they could not keep the rats from tunneling through up into the documents belonging to the clerk. Now, where would this be permitted 301 North Olive Avenue? Where would this be permitted in Palm Beach Garden or Del Rey? There's a term in the Glades, it's called the Green Bridge. That's all of the sugar area. There should be no difference either side of the bridge.
Thank you, Andrew. Now we have the Minto West questions. There's several of them here. One of them is more informational. And this one would be for you, Melissa. So we won't count this against your allotted time. This is strictly informational as I read the question. As a part of the county commissioner's lobbying team, what efforts were made to stop the expansive development and approve and oppose the ag enclave in the legislature when it was put forward several years ago?
I can tell you, Todd Von Laren is the county's legislative affairs director and my boss. And Todd actively lobbied Senator Mike Bennett from the West Coast to try to prevent some of those amendments from taking place. And as in anything with the legislature, it's a toss-up. You win some, you lose some. But I can tell you that the lobby team was on the ground on that one, pushing against it as much as they possibly could, and unfortunately it was just a battle that they lost.
Okay, thank you. Hold on to the microphone here. Let me read through several different questions, same topic on Minto West. If you were currently a commissioner, this is for all of you. If you were currently a commissioner, how would you vote on the Minto project? Tell us how you would vote for what Minto wants, and what are your feelings regarding Minto West? Do you want to start that off, Melissa?
Sure, we'll just take them all. I was asked this question the other night too. My answer is going to remain the same. I wish we were at a place locally where we could just say absolutely not to anything that comes before us, but unfortunately we can't. I already told you about the population increases we're expecting. And then the other reality of that is the legislature, which we just brought up. And as you can see, as it was just example, Ag Enclave came from the legislature. Proportionate share, which did away with our ability to fund things through the concurrency program, which means that the infrastructure has to be in place before the development is in place. Legislature did away with that. They now have instituted an amendment which would allow people and property owners of a certain size to incorporate if they don't like what a county government says. So while we thought dismantling the Department of Community Affairs was a good thing that would give more local control back to our government, it's actually put more power in the hands of our legislature. And it is a very development-friendly legislature. So I think that we need to be realistic about this, that we need to be able to sit down and negotiate with the community and with the developers and get something in place that can satisfy, the majority of the people. I think Minto has done the right thing so far. They've been listening. They're coming down in the number of homes. I would encourage them to come down in the square footage of commercial space that they're offering. I think it's too much at this time, and I think we're on the right path.
Thank you. Would you pass that on to Andrew, please?
Good. I went ahead and gave it an extra 30 seconds.
Oh, you want to give him an extra 30
Yeah,
seconds?
since it was all rolled into like 3 or 4 times.
Okay, we have a judgment from Debbie that we give you an extra 30 seconds. You have a minute and a half.
Thank
Is that
you.
okay with you, Melissa? I think.
Oh, she got it, yeah.
Oh, she got it?
We're giving
Okay.
it to everyone.
All right, minute and a half.
Okay, you need to first understand how this all came about. It was Gallery Judge Groves before it was Minto. Many years ago in the 50s, when Gallery Judge came down, they picked out that area because it was special to the air paths from Lake Okeechobee and from our coastal to keep things warm. In the time of winter, things wouldn't freeze in there. So it was supposed to be an agricultural grove for a period of time. Now that period of time is done. So let's talk about changing that land use into residential. Depending if you went with the 20 homes or 1 home per 20 acres, there could have been 140 homes. Then it got moved up to be about 2,400 homes. During Gallery, they wanted 10,000 homes. The Ag Enclave in 2008 was passed so that they could have 2,600 homes, roughly 2996, just under. 4 homes under, so they didn't have to go through further review. The Ag Enclave is a designation that says you have 3 sides surrounded by other property. You're supposed to be congruent with what goes on in that property. They then wanted to have roughly 6,500 homes. They had the opportunity for 235,000 square feet. When they bought it, they want to put 2.4 million square feet. Let's cut to the chase. They bought the property with the ability to have 2996. They bought the property with the ability to have 235,000 square feet. That's what they get.
In regards to Minto West and with any development, because this is a hot topic that will continue to come up for the life of Palm Beach County, they got what they paid for, but we always have to remember about protecting the quality of life of our current residents. When you purchase a piece of property and you come to Royal Palm Beach, Wellington, the acreage, the Glades, anywhere, you buy into that lifestyle. You worked hard for that money and you decided on that piece of property, whatever attracted you to it, whether it's the golf course view like in Century Village and it's happening over there, they bought their condos, they've got a beautiful golf course, and then now developers come in and buy it up and say, actually, we'd like to make that rooftop homes for you. We know you paid more for that golf course lot, but we want to pocket some. It's the same thing in Minto West. Protect the residents and what they came there for. I'm not against growth. They bought it for $51 million for a certain amount of density. Let's not give them the windfall. Once again, it's taking from the poor and giving to the rich. If you buy property, whether it's for the golf course view, whether it's because you love those dirt roads in the acreage and you want to bring in your horses, follow the will of the people. Number 1, listen and follow. This past week at the meeting about Minto West, I wish you all could have been there. Person after person gave their heartfelt testimony as to what it was like, why they came to this community, how they loved having all the animals that they did, how they loved riding their horses along the dirt streets. And now these developers are coming in who don't even live there to profit.
Michelle, stay down there. You won't have to exercise yourself so much. You keep coming back and forth. This is another quality of life question for all 3 of you. Are you an advocate for marriage equality and ENDA?
What's ENDA? I'm not familiar with it.
Anybody know? I don't know. Take a guess.
It's in the Non-Discrimination Act.
Okay. Employment Non-Discrimination Act? Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah. Take our word for it. Go ahead.
I'm not sure exactly what it is, so I can't comment specifically as to it, but I'm always pro-equality for everything in life. I come from a family that's very mixed. I come from a Filipino and Spanish background, but I grew up here in the United States. I don't think we should have any division. And that's what I believe about the party system, unfortunately. Many people, whether you're a D or an R, and people vote down party lines, what it's really about is we're all people, we're all citizens, we're all Americans. We've got to do what's right. It takes a village. So I believe in equality in all sense, whether it's gender, religion, anything like that. We need to take care of each other.
Pass it on to Andy, please.
Something about that all men are created equal. I think that meant men and women. I remember reading a book in grammar school called Animal Farm, where all people are equal, but some are more equal. Who gets to determine that? The golden rule? He who holds all the gold makes all the rules? It's not where I believe, it's not where I come from, it's not how I was taught. I understand that there needs to be certain designations so that the system doesn't get abused. But any system that does not give the equality of all of us being equal, because we all, my father told me a long time ago, we all eat, drink, other things, put their pants on one leg at a time. Anybody who wants to claim that they're any better for anybody else because they do it in a different way, well, maybe that way works for you. But that's not a requirement or right to life. Our founding father said, all men are created equal. And I extend that to all women are created equal as well.
And pass that on to Melissa, please.
I'm so proud to wake up yesterday morning and Senator Clemens had sent me a text message. He said, congratulations, and I had to go online and look. But yesterday morning I was endorsed by the Palm Beach County Human Rights Council, which is a group that stands up for equality for all. And I absolutely stand up for equality for all. I was born into a family that believed in that. I've continued on with that tradition, not only in employment. There are laws up in Tallahassee I've advocated for in regards to bullying. Our LGBT community was left out at some of the bullying legislation, and I believe that's something that needs to be included, or a community that needs to be included. But absolutely 100% believe in equality for all, marriage for all. It doesn't matter. You love who you love. You want to raise children, you want to raise children. Nobody should be denied that right. And as somebody who, I think I'm the only candidate that has actually been through a marriage, I think everybody should go through that. So anyhow, 100% in agreement.
Thank you, Melissa. Now we have several infrastructure questions. We might as well start with you. You've got the microphone. Do you support or oppose construction of the proposed Roebuck Road extension through the Grassy Waters catchment area?
I'd first like to start with State Road 7 and getting that road built wherever it is they decide to finally put it. But Okeechobee Boulevard is overcrowded. It needs help. Either we increase our funding for some mass transit options, or we have to look at other road extensions.
Okay, let's pass it on to Michelle, please.
Priority number one is the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens. So anything that would protect that, evacuation routes. If there's another hurricane, which happens in South Florida, we need to be able to have access for each and every one of us here to get out quickly and get our families out of harm's way. So I am in support of it. However, if there are studies, because you mentioned Grassy Waters, if there are studies that show that it is a danger to the health, safety, and welfare of people, then we need to find another way, whether it's building the road in a different way. Health, safety, and welfare is number one.
And on to Andrew.
Each of these roads, State Road 7 and Roebuck, have been on the 20-year road plan, 10-year road plan, 5-year road plan, so you can see that the need was projected at that time. I understand that. But let's talk about timing. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The reason I ask that is if we open up these roads right now and send it all through, anybody that's coming in with Minto, Avenir, Highland Dunes, Island Carroll, going further with Avenir, anywhere is going to say, we have the road capacity, so why shouldn't we have the homes in here? So we've waited to a particular point in time where if we put all the highways, as they're calling them parkways now, we put the parkways through and everything looks like Seminole, Pratt and Whitney wide, how about all the people that are along 60th? How about the people on the west side of Okeechobee Road that'll get done? How many people on Orange for Simmons? How much is going to happen? So while I am for it 100%, who can argue with safety if you need to get out? But be careful what you ask for when you ask for it, because while these decisions are being decided, you open the floodgates, you are inviting this development into your neighborhood.
Just hold on to that, Andrew. Give him a little applause there. You're all thinking about
You're here all week, take care of your wages.
There you go. Well, here's a softball for you. What action should the commission take to substantially reduce the FEMA flood map designations for high flood zones, pocketbook issue?
Okay, real quick, the way that the flood zone has been determined is by the level of Lake Okeechobee. The unfortunate part is the lake is not at the historic 100-year highs because they're doing dike improvement, so the lakes are at artificially low levels, yet the FEMA maps don't reflect that. We need to be able to convey to the Army Corps of Engineers that flood insurance and Washington, because remember, all that money leaves this area. Any money that goes to federal flood insurance, FEMA, leaves the area forever and sets precedent as to what's going to happen in the years afterwards. We as a board have to band together, municipalities have to band together, the county needs to come together and say that the insurance rates are based upon artificially low levels of the lake that will not be there until they finish the lake. When they finish the lake, okay, we'll reassess our insurance rates. But while that level is low and kept artificially low with no foreseeable time to pull it back up because there's no federal funding for the dike, we need to band together as everyone in the county and fight that.
Thank you. Michelle?
I agree that teamwork is going to be the key issue here. We can't solve this problem alone. We have to rely on the experts, which are the engineers. Working with the engineers and the public and everyone involved will help us determine what is the proper course of action.
And listen.
The county's actually taken a pretty active role in this already, and I hate to keep mentioning his name again, but we've been working with Senator Nelson and our members of Congress and have been able to delay the implementation of a lot of those proposed insurance increases. Interestingly enough as well, the legislature this year had actually proposed to draw its own maps and open up its own insurance program so that we didn't have to compete with the National Flood Insurance Program. I think exploring other options like that is one alternative. I also think that the maps need to be drawn to scientific evidence and not just unilaterally drawn because that's what they felt like doing that day. So continuing the good work of county staff with our members of Congress